Hi, and welcome to week 4 of Introduction to Statistics, Unit 1, where we looked at Lesson 1.6, Measuring Center, and Lesson 1.7, Measuring Variability. There are two key measures of center, the mean and the median. The mean of a quantitative set is just the average of all the data points. You add up all the data points and you divide it by the number of data points, n. Mean is also known as x bar, which is x with a middle line over it. The median is the midpoint of a distribution, the number where half the points are smaller and half the points are larger. If the number of data points is odd, then the median's relatively easy to find. It's just the middle value when the points are listed from smallest to largest. If the number of data points is even, then the median is the average of the two middle values. Oftentimes people ask, which one should you use, the mean or the median? There are two things to consider. One is that the median is resistant to outliers. It's not influenced by outliers, whereas the mean is not resistant to outliers. So if your data has multiple outliers, then you may want to use the median. The other question is your data skewed? If the data is strongly skewed to the left or to the right, then again, you should probably use the median. But if your data is relatively symmetric, then the mean can be used as a measure of center. Another thing that we do in data is we look at variability or examine variability. So if you look at these two distributions, they look similar in shape. Their average is about the same, the highest is about the same. But if you look at Earl is way more spread out than Kelly's bowling scores. That's where you can look at measures of variability. One measure of variability is the range, where you take the maximum minus the minimum. Another measure of variability have to do with quartiles, where you order the data from smallest to largest, and then you separate the data into approximately 4 equal parts. To find the quartiles, as we mentioned, you first order the data from smallest to largest. The first quartile is approximately 1/4 up the list. The first quartile is the median of the data to the left of the median. The second quartile is the median itself, halfway up the data list. And the third quartile is approximately 3/4 up the list. It's the median of the data to the right of the median. Two other important measures of variability are the interquartile range and standard deviation. The interquartile range is where you take the third quartile, Q3, minus the first quartile, Q1. Standard deviation measures the typical distance of values of a distribution from the mean. The standard deviation has 4 or 5 different parts. First, you find the mean of the data. Second, you calculate the deviation of each value from the mean. So the deviation equals value minus mean. Third, you square each deviation. And fourth, you add all of the square deviations, you divide by n minus 1, and you take the square root. Here is the formula for standard deviation written out where you are squaring each of the deviations, you're adding all those up, dividing by n minus 1, and then taking the square root. Remember that sigma stands for sum of, which means that we are adding up all of these squares of deviations. Thank you for watching this video. We hope that it helps you better understand the material in 1.6 and 1.7.